For 8 years, Splatoon 1 speedruns followed the same route. Beat the first 3 worlds as fast as you can, skip World 4, then complete World 5 and finish the game. Times had gotten below 50 minutes, and it seemed like there was no place for new skips. However, during August of 2023, that all changed. This is World 4 Early, a trick where you use an ink rail to boost into the air and skip half the game. Today, I'll be explaining how that works alongside everything that goes into a world-class Splatoon 1 speedrun, with the 80% world record of 27 minutes 18 seconds by Nagat. Splatoon 1 speedruns start out very differently to any other Splatoon game. They play the tutorial. In every other Splatoon speedrun, the tutorial is skipped and the timer starts at a different point. This is because by skipping the tutorial, we can change our options to suit our playstyle and remove advantages people can get by being on an earlier version of the game, all without worrying about losing time. So why don't Splatoon 1 speedrunners skip the tutorial? It all comes down to the fact that tutorial has been part of the run since the game came out a decade ago. When a segment of a game is optimized that much, there's not a lot of incentive to remove it. Not to mention, it's much easier to change sensitivity in Splatoon 1, losing 3 seconds at max, so it was kept in. Going back to the speedrun, the tutorial is an excellent place to show how optimized runs have gotten in the past few years. Every shot here is deliberate with no slowing down. After mashing through the squid sisters and cuttlefish, it's on to level 1. Most of the first levels in Splatoon speedruns aren't very interesting as they're meant to teach the player how to play the game, and this game is no different, but level 2 is where stuff gets really cool. Level 2 is what's known as a cycle level, and this is simply because of this moving wall at the end of the level. The intended route is for players to use this launch pad to get to the cannon and then use it to paint the wall to beat the level, but instead, runners do a trick called cannonlets. Most runners who do this trick go up the left side, paint above them, wait for the moving wall to come towards them, then climb up the goal. However, if they're extremely fast, it's possible to get up the right side of the wall and save even more time. Nagat doesn't go for this version of cannonlets, however, but instead gets a very clean left side. By the end of level 2, the runner wants to have at least 100 power eggs, simply because it's enough to buy the burst bomb. Now you might be wondering, why not buy the Seeker, since it moves in a straight line when thrown and curves its trajectory if it locks onto an enemy? Well, yeah, you're right. Seeker does have a lot of benefits, especially for speedrunning. However, there's a trick later on that requires you to have burst bombs now instead of Seekers, with the trick being so precise that only 2 players have ever successfully got it in a personal best. Sure, they might lose a little bit of time in level 3 by using the burst bomb, but the potential time save is worth it. At the end of World 1, we had to fight the Octo Stomp. Speedrunners have a special strategy to use against him and other bosses in the run, the rapid fire glitch. In Splatoon 1, for whatever reason, whenever the player switches sub-weapons while shooting, the weapon fires an extra shot. This can be seen easily with the Inkzuka, and it's very interesting. The rapid fire glitch, or RFG for short, also applies to the regular hero shot. When it comes time to shoot Octostomp's tentacle, runners mash the D-pad as fast as they can. The faster they can switch subs, the higher damage per second. You might think that the difference between regular shooting and using RFGs isn't that big, but look at this comparison. RFGs are also necessary for a section later in the run, but more on that when we get there. Instead of heading towards World 2, speedrunners do the largest skip in the run, and for that matter, the entire Splatoon series, World 4 Early. But first, a little history lesson. In 2023, Japanese glitch hunter Messiah posted a screenshot to Twitter showing themselves in World 4 without playing any levels in World 2 or 3. At the time, he didn't have the means of showing the trick in action, but a few hours later, another player, Gakachao, showed off the skip. By doing these large jumps, he was able to load World 4 in and all the kettles inside of it. He was then able to throw a splat bomb towards the kettle leading to level 18, but then pause the game. This is because when the game is paused, the player freezes, but any bombs that may have been thrown out before the pause do not, allowing him to damage the level 18 kettle, and so by doing the trick again, he managed to unlock the kettle and super jumped to it, allowing him to reach World 4 early. It wasn't known exactly how Gakachao got those large jumps until the second place runner Fuyo posted a full tutorial the next day, where everything would be revealed. This is jump storage. By quickly going in and out of an ink rail for only a few frames, the game gets confused and ejects you out of the ink rail absurdly fast, launching you upwards. In this state, if you quickly tap the ZL button on an ink rail, then you can keep doing these high bounces, allowing World 4 early to be done, or rather, World 2 side World 4 early. Originally, you would have had to take the ink rail over the World 2, open up a kettle, jump back to Octostomp, get jump storage, then jump back to the World 2 kettle to do World 4 early. But that wasted a lot of time, especially with this cutscene when you first enter World 2. It was soon discovered that with a very high jump from jump storage, you could do the bounces from the World 1 side of the ink rail, saving around 20 seconds. The problem is, this method still requires 2 deaths to work. If only we could do World 4 early, but deathless. And that's exactly where new World 4 early comes in. Since the burst bomb was bought after World 2, runners can get jump storage, turn around, and barely load the ink rail connecting Worlds 3 and 4. Not only do you have to get incredible jump storage, but you also have to time your burst bomb throw at the perfect moment to get it to hit the ink rail. Activating the ink rail was just the beginning though. Now they have to do 3 consecutive bounces without losing storage, all the way up to the intersection of the ink rail. Then by doing one more jump, they can go into the ink rail above them and skip having to unlock kettles and respawning. World 4 early saves 20 minutes, which is easily the biggest time save in the Splatoon series. Now that we're in World 4, it's time for the second biggest time save in the Splatoon series, World 4 skip. If you've watched any Splatoon 1 speedrun from the past decade, you've likely seen this trick. Discovered only a week after the game's launch, this trick completely skips all of World 4. All of the barriers in each world have a small gap around them that you can swim on, but this doesn't really matter for other worlds as you need to activate an ink rail inside of them to progress in the game. But World 4 is different. World 4 and World 5 don't have an ink rail connecting them, but rather a set of platforms. So runners found that by painting the wall behind the World 4 barrier, then getting into the small pixel gap around the barrier, they could jump to the inked wall and go into World 5. The cutscene that would normally play doesn't happen, but all of the kettles in the world are functional, meaning all of the levels can be beat and the final boss kettle can be unlocked. And that's exactly what Nagat does straight after World 4 early. He paints the wall, gets ink underneath the barrier, jumps to the small pixel gap, then goes into World 5 in under 11 minutes. Now that we're in World 5, this is where all the hardest levels are, starting with level 24. At this level of gameplay, there's a strategy that is vital to save time, and it's called Scream Cycle. Near the end of the level, there is a windmill that is constantly rotating. If you're going just kinda fast, then you'll have to wait a bit before you can continue in the level. But if you go really fast, don't slow down at all, and take the perfect lines, then you'll get to the windmill early enough to where you can climb up it this way. This is easily the second hardest part of the run, behind New World 4 early. You have to be completely optimized to make this cycle. One small slip up and you won't be on pace. Of course, with a lot, and I mean a lot of practice, you can get this cycle consistently, but that by no means make the level free or easy. If you're wondering where the name Scream Cycle came from, it was just called that by former world record holder Lontro. The cycle is so hard, it will make you scream. After the hellhole that was that level, we're on to level 26, a nice vacation from the last 3 things I had to talk about. It's here where the Seeker is finally bored, as runners want to spend as little time as they can without it, especially in World 5. Level 26 is mostly straight lines, and that's perfect for the Seeker. After that, it's on to level 27. Very similar to level 26, but instead of heavily using Seekers, runners will use burst bombs for movement. This comes in handy at the very end. By doing small tap shots towards this balloon, a burst bomb can be thrown at it and splat the Octo Striker instantly. On our way to level 25, level 22 needs to be unlocked so it can be jumped to later. Unfortunately, level 22 is all the way down here. So instead, runners ink the sponge, throw a burst bomb over towards the kettle, then switch to a splat bomb and throw that towards the kettle as well. The explosion from these bombs do enough damage to unlock the level. While that's happening, we enter level 25. Level 25 is the only level that is affected by Flutter RNG. Whenever a Flutter gets to an intersection, it will randomly pick what path to go down. Nagat gets a bit unlucky with the pattern in the middle of the level and has to do a tight jump between this Flutter and the wall. But the real place where Flutter RNG matters is at the final checkpoint. The Octo Sniper holding the key that we need to beat the level spawns on top of a Flutter, but because of how Flutters move, the Octo Sniper could either be in the perfect spot, ideally right here in the middle of the maze, or it could be completely far away, having the time of its life. Luckily, Nagat gets a pretty good pattern, with the Flutter spawning close to the lockbox, losing minimal time. Level 23 is simplistic, but can be annoying. This level is filled with sponges and octocopters. In Splatoon 1, sponges are a bit finicky, sometimes not registering if they're hit with a burst bomb. Not only that, but the constant bombs from the octocopters can really mess with runners. Nagat is a gamer though, so he was able to get through it easily. Now we're at the last checkpoint. Usually this would involve a fight against two octolings, but there's a setup to get this fight done fast. If you go down the right side and throw a splat bomb to the far left corner, it will kill the octoling every time. Then, by going up the far left side of the sponge, that will manipulate the second octoling to jump to the top right side, allowing for an easy quick kill. After that, it's on to the last level before Octavio, level 22. On its own, this level is pretty difficult, but having it near the end can make it easy to mess up under pressure. At the beginning, we paint the left side of this wall and throw a burst bomb on the switch to activate it. This allows us to go up the wall without having to wait for it to spin around. After that, there's a fight with some twinticle octo troopers before the biggest trick in the level, Great Jump. You need to get to this launch pad to continue in the level. Most runners would throw a burst bomb to the switch and wait for the platforms to come in, but with the Great Jump, it's possible to reach the launch pad with a shorter wait. We wait for the Great to come up, then quickly unsquid, jump, then squid again to carry momentum to the launch pad. If you're too late on your unsquid, you'll fall right into the void, not only losing precious time, but also your Ingzuka, which is extremely useful for the next section. After the Ingzuka section, the next checkpoint has some dangerous movement. Runners have to hit this switch, jump off the edge, then hit this next switch with a burst bomb mid-air. Burst bombs in Splatoon 1 require a lot more precision than the other games as they have a smaller blast radius. I have seen many people lose their runs because they threw the burst bomb slightly wrong and it didn't activate the switch. Now all that remains is the final boss, DJ Octavio. Octavio is split up into 5 phases, and each one has been delicately planned for. This is because Octavio has his fist attacks that control how fast the fight goes. Fortunately, the community has developed strategies on each fist to make it go fast. The main goal is to get as many fist skips as possible. A fist skip is where the runner uses the rapid fire glitch to shoot the fist back so fast, it prevents Octavio from firing another fist until he recovers from being hit. This is extremely important for knocking him back. When Octavio is hit, his machine turns red. In this state, fists only deal half of the usual knockback. By doing fist skips, runners can prevent him from launching another fist until he turns green again, dealing the normal amount of knockback. Even with this tech, there are still cases where it's better to not skip fists. These are called normals. After phase 1, Octavio always shoots his fists out instead of 2s. Normals are where the first fist is delayed until Octavio launches the second one, which is then hit by the rapid fire glitch. The perfect example of this is in phase 2, where runners do a delay on the first fist to get Octavio in the right position, so if you do an RFG on the second fist, it will put him here. This then allows us to fist skip on the next 2 fists, which gets us to the sub with a tennis quickly. If we had done RFGs on the first fist, then that would put Octavio into a position where we can't do fist skips. Sometimes going slower is faster. faster. Finally, we're at the end. Only 3 Ingzuka shots stands between Nagat and the world record. These Ingzuka shots can be rather difficult with the nerves that the runner might have. They have to quickly react to where each subwoofer is and shoot it back, especially the last one where there is less than a second to react. But Nagat clutched up and set a new 80% world record of 27 minutes and 18 seconds. This is one of the most optimized speedruns I've ever seen, with not a lot of time to save, but I know that eventually this time will be beaten, and I can't wait. But if you're curious about what a perfect new game plus speedrun of Splatoon looks like, click this video right here.